Hey, Bill Micos, number one. Just get your motors running. Get your motor running. I'm going to try to use today, which looks, thank gosh, to be a recovery day in the market. The Dow is up 600, NASDAQ up 400, S&P up 100, roughly. And Railtown is 49.5 to 51, 3,000 shares. But, you know, my service, I don't trust that it always gives the correct share volume, and it changes around during the day. So I don't know. I don't believe that it's only 3,000 shares. The high today, 51 cents, the low, 50 cents. They may still try to punish it, but I think there's a couple things to our advantage here. One is there's no large hedge fund working in collusion, which should be illegal, with a toxic bird dog financer, and then working with a bunch of promoters, and then working with a bunch of shills and all that. There's none of that. So in other words, it doesn't look like there's a short out there of this industrial size that wants to just take all of its market cap, or as much of it as they can, in this time frame. What I think is out there with Railtown is the automatic setting on the computers on the sell side, the algorithm sell side. So when they read MOU on February 11th, and then of course in the body, the computer reads it, in the body of it, it says acquisition, a few weeks to LOI. I think those computers started selling, and it always works for the criminals, because much like other things in this world, everything is rigged for a handful of guys. We can fight it. I think it's virtually impossible to fight. I think what's going to happen, the financialization phase of this market will come to an end. 6 months, a year, year and a half, who knows? But once it does, a lot of these guys will be driving taxi cabs, and the irony is a lot of those taxi cabs will be driverless. So
You know, what happens when Amazon marries uh, food delivery with driverless taxis and drones? These guys aren't going to have a place to fall back on. Uh, anyway, I think these kind of opportunistic, hyena-istic, cowardly, pile-on type shorts, uh, they're the kind of guys that put their car right up on a truck as the truck's going down the highway to save some gasoline. You guys don't remember that, but people used to do that. Let the truck do the pulling with the air uh, uh, envelope. I think some of those guys got in trouble, but they don't have the power just to keep pressing it. And we'll find out. We'll find out if the stock loan desks and the prime brokers who have extended them credit wish to leave this particular trade open, expanding. We'll find out. I, for one, am well pleased that today the stock is holding. It leads me to believe that a lot of the volume we've been seeing could be arbitrage. So when the Canadian markets open, you have the loonie, the greenback, Railtown Canada and Railtown USA, and there's complicated flash boy strategies, which for some reason the people in charge of the over-the-counter are fine with. I don't know. Their goal must be to please the banks and the criminals, not CEOs and capital formation. I think they're completely worthless at the over-the-counter markets. Uh, 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 the CEO of Collective Audience is a schoolboy chum of the CEO of the over-the-counter market. I think they can both take a long walk off a short pier, as far as I'm concerned. All right. Have a bit of a cold. It's risky to point this out, and I really hope that Donald Trump is trying to solve a problem. One of the arguments for the ongoing murderous wars in the Middle East, the genocide, the war criminal actions by Netanyahu and his team, is that Benjamin Netanyahu, once the war stops, is going to go to jail or prison. So he has to keep going with the war to avoid that. And Benjamin Netanyahu's been in my judgment, a scumbag since he was in law school, and he went to school and grew up in Philadelphia, United States. But other people must love him. I think he's just a terrible human being. But Donald Trump has called for the pardon of Benjamin Netanyahu. It may be that Donald Trump is thinking, if I solve that problem, then we can end the wars. I hope that's what's going on. But I will point out to you, as I've pointed out now for a while, and people get upset with me, we are on the wrong side of the world. Just using the last century, Germany decided to take on the world the first time around, although I think there can be some arguments that the British banking system and other European banking systems were trying to break apart Russia even then. They sent Lenin in by a covered train. It may have been about collateral back then, who knows? But Germany lost that war. And then Hitler got angry and he used the hatred, the anti-Semitism, the targeting of one race, one religious, it's not, I don't know if it's a race, a religious group to fuel his rise, but he also went against the Versailles Treaty, against the banks, although then he very complicatedly needed the banks to get his war machine going. Anyway, there's a whole lot of things that happened, but I think we can all agree that Hitler and Germany were on the wrong side of history. The entire world blanches when they think of Nazi Germany. Well, I would submit to you right now, most of the world, the young people, the industrial part of the world, the industrious part of the world, the people that have dreams and are getting married and are making things happen in South America, in Africa, in the Middle East, in the subcontinent. It may be a little different because of the Pakistani war, but in general, Southeast Asia, China, Russia, Iran, that's the Middle East, but you know, the Sunni Shia divide. All these parts of the world, look at Israel today, look at Netanyahu today, look at what's happened to the Palestinians, but it's not just there. It's the West Bank, it's Lebanon, it's Syria, and what's stopping them? I believe he's going to attack Iran. They look at Israel and blanch. And now Donald Trump, who I voted for 3 times as a Democrat, Donald Trump is no better than Joe Biden, no better than Barack Obama, no better than that idiot, intentional idiot, George W. Bush, no better than Bill Clinton. I actually think George H.W. Bush and Reagan, they're a different generation. Certainly Jimmy Carter, I believe, is the last statesman we ever had as a president. You would argue Reagan, okay. Reagan and Carter and George H.W. Bush, the last true statesman. But from that Popinjay, George W. Bush, and the third way spoiled brat lying boomer Clinton onward, who I voted for twice, they never stood up to Israel. And now Larry Ellison has purchased TikTok. 80%, apparently, 80% of young people get their news on TikTok. So a Zionist buys, and Donald Trump helps arrange it, a Zionist buys. That's propaganda. That's Hermann Goring. My point is, on behalf of 70% of 8.5 million people who live in a colonialist, supremacist, religious, white state on the tip of the Middle East, on behalf of them, we're going to take the United States down. And we are. So I think it's going to change some of the things that maybe would have taken a longer time. It's going to cause our lives to change. But at least we won't be anti-Semitic. We'll have backed up the single worst war criminal since Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. And if you want to throw someone else in there, you could throw in Sharon, the fat, flabby fabricator. But anyway, I only bring that up because I'm horrified to watch Donald Trump accelerate our decline. I've blamed Hillary, I've blamed Victoria Nuland, I've blamed the neocons. It's now Donald Trump and his Zionist coterie, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But what can we do about it? We have to be ready to see our entire lifestyle change over the next decade. And I don't know if I'll be going live with you all those times, maybe. You're already seeing things speed up. The single best trade in the precious metals market, the easy money's gone. I talked to some investors and, oh, it's too small. Oh, I don't know. I'd rather be in cash. Well, it's gone from $25, actually less than that, to $50, and it's headed higher. Silver would have to go to something like 200 and I can't remember, $220 an ounce on an inflation adjusted basis to even match its previous high. Well, it's speeding up now. It's in all the headlines. Gold is going up. It's in all the headlines. The geniuses on Wall Street are starting to talk about it. Everything is speeding up. And Donald Trump has helped draw the lines. It didn't need to be this way, but the United States has decided to declare war against the rest of the world, and it's the United States on the side of Israel, on the side of genocide, on the side of colonialism and white supremacism, and on a theocracy. That's what we've decided to do. Now, it may be more complicated. It may be that London and Geneva and other banking centers are encouraging us. It may be that we need the collateral. The banks are out of control. They've burned through all sorts of collateral. To me, they've created the cryptocurrency space is all new collateral. 15 years ago, it didn't exist, and today it's collateral. You can put it in ETFs. They're going to, I'm sure, put it in accounts so you can margin against it, and then they can start rehypothecating that as well. Oh, no, they can't. It's on blockchain. Well, just watch. Just watch. So maybe this is all the Ukraine and the murder and the displacement of 2.5 million Palestinians. Maybe this is all part of a piece to claim collateral for the British banks, and the other European banks and the New York banks, which you don't have to own. You just change the regime and you lend them money. And then vast timberlands, vast oil reserves, gas reserves, nickel reserves, copper reserves enter into the Western banking system. Make no mistake about it. Unless Trump is very cleverly trying to distance himself from Israel, but first he wants them to stop being murderous, which is possible. I think Trump has decided we've declared war against the rest of the world. Now, I don't know that that's going to be, we can't fight a physical war. We don't have the weaponry. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the sophisticated weapons. But I think it's a financial war. And we'll see who wins. I don't think the West is without its tools. I don't think the West is without its strengths. But you got to know, all the automobiles, well, not all, the majority of the automobiles that anyone can afford to buy are made in the East, in China. All the physical gold and physical silver and other assets are in China. When I say China, they're in Russia and Iran and India, but just to keep the story simple. All the robots and modern factories and assembly lines and our technology are in China. So from Bill Clinton onward, we've sold out everything on behalf of the banks. And we should just know we're not going to win this necessarily. It's not obvious how we're going to win. And maybe that's Netanyahu's role, bust up the Middle East. But even in the Middle East, our weapons no longer protect the Saudi royal family effectively. They seem to, but they didn't work in Israel. Russian weapons protect, Iranian weapons, Chinese weapons. How long does it take for the penny to drop and say, you know what? We should shift our protection arrangement to the East. Guys, our life's going to change. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. There's ways we can get ahead of that issue, because all of that, which I can get worked up on, is all political thoughts, discussion. It's something to debate. But what is the practical effect on our financial future? And I think the effect in the longer run, let's say, I don't think it's going to take that long because of the speed of the internets. But let's say in the next 5 years, I think everything I prepared for, which I'm not prepared anymore. I bought a house bigger than I needed, simply so inside of the metro, inside, so you could walk and use metro. But if things got as difficult as I think it's going to be, you could have people, you could rent out rooms, you know. And then I made sure I had an interaction with everybody in my neighborhood. They used to call me Mr. Mayor, Chairman, because I knew everybody. Here, I don't know jack shit. I owned a lot of silver, but because of doing real estate deals particularly with a guy that I worked with at Merrill Lynch, he married a wealthy woman and then inherited wealth. He never really made much on his own. He churned through a lot of accounts at Merrill, but once he met what I put together, I didn't think it could be he, but he did. He cut me out. So a lot of the real estate deals that I worked on at the end of the day, you know, I don't know, must be 3 or 4 dozen of them. At the end of the day, I didn't make any money on them. They all worked, but anyway, it's all in the past. So my silver dissipated over time, and I haven't been able to replace it. So my point on that, I may be in the position a lot of you are in. The difference is I already know what's coming because I studied it. The shock of it hit me in the early 2000s. The fear, I couldn't sleep at night, thinking of a world where gasoline is $35 or $50 a gallon. I couldn't sleep. That's coming, and it could come quickly. Silver in the thousands of dollars. I can't figure out real estate very much. Housing, I can't figure out. I think houses in suburbs are going to be the new ghettos, and I say that respectfully. I'm not trying to use the word ghetto for any wartime or civil rights time message, but I think the suburbs will be the new ghettos unless they have a train, unless they have a metro, and unless people work together to build a security system. But all of this is in the future. We don't have to think about it now. I bring it up because my goal with Railtown, for you and for me, like I've pointed out to you, I have a really insignificant account compared to what I used to. But Railtown is a way, and I actually was playing around with it. I think most of the losses I've experienced in these trades, I would make back if the stock went to 55. It's a long way from here, I know. So maybe we'll see if that happens. But anyway, what Railtown allows you to do, and this is why we're in it. We're not in it to day trade. We're not in it to turn it into hot money, chasing a Benedetto Beauty or a Ham Hype or a Borders Bomb or any of the other people out there. We're not going to do that anymore. Railtown allows you to get out of the red and I hope well into the green. And then we will prepare for the next 15 years, the next 20 years. I may be in my dotage by then. On the other hand, I might be Dick Van Dyke or Jimmy Rogers, giving interviews while I'm on my, what do you call those? I guess spin class. Is that bicycle? Stationary bicycle. Who knows what's ahead? But my number one goal is that you hang on to Railtown so you can create, in dollar terms, a significant financial bulwark against what's coming. Now, the trick over this period of time is going to be how to kind of translate some of that. I was hoping we could get into silver. The easy part of silver already happened, and we missed that. 20s to 50s. Well, I still think it doubles from here. So maybe there's still a play there, but maybe by the time I think we paid a high price for how long the attorneys waddled around and the bureaucrats. It's life. It's life. Can't change it. It's just life. So we have to face what are our choices here. Gold, the easy part of gold's happened. But there's a lot ahead. There is a ton ahead. It's just going to be more volatile, and it might involve some trading. It might involve shifting from physical to the mining shares. Even the mining shares are up. They were dead on their back. And unfortunately, for me personally, I didn't have the money to commit. And then with investors, money wasn't available and still isn't available. And I've let go of it. I've totally let go of it in my head. By the time we have assets to invest in the space, by the time money comes in, it'll all have moved. So that's how I deal with it. So we need to shift. What happens in markets when they're dead on their back and no one's paying attention, particularly Wall Street, you can buy the deals for next to nothing. You can buy the physical for next to nothing. But as Wall Street wakes up and turns and it's in the headlines, all that's left is being a shareholder. And that's what, by the time the money comes, that's what, by the time we get our liquidity, that may be where we are. But that's still plenty of opportunity to change to get prepared. Now, the one thing is silver has doubled, just to use one precious metal. Silver has doubled. Silver is probably going to become unobtainable to retail in the West, but it's doubled. Railtown, believe it or not, has almost doubled from June. Almost. It's probably more like 40% now, depending on where you got in. I actually think Railtown is going to give us 10x, 15x, 20x fairly quickly. And then that's the trick. Oh my gosh. It's going to be like GTII, or it's going to be like G-Bucks. G-Bucks went to 12. It's 25 cents right now. I don't want to be in, I got to get out. And all those charm boys are going to tell you, hey, book the profit. Nobody goes broke taking a profit. I've got another one over here, blink, 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 that they got stock in that's free to trade. They run it up, they sell their stock. When you challenge them, hey, I got out, do your own due diligence. I'll stand in and talk to you. That's the quote that came here. Guys, they're not your friends. They are not looking out for you. They couldn't give two shoots for you. We got to get away from that if you want to get ready for what's coming. You got to get away from that. So anyway, Railtown, I think, is going to give you 100x. Now, there's a lot of variables, and it may give you a transition into a NVIDIA without paying any taxes. So as this goes on, one of the goals I have is to increase your exposure to gold and silver at an attractive price. The cheap price is gone. We missed it. Bureaucrats, a year of waiting, lawyers, we missed that. That's fine. I think we're in a better wealth creating vehicle right now in Railtown. So you can't be in them all, you can't be in them all. Let's start talking about Railtown. But one concept on gold and silver, I don't think it's over in that sense, but there's no question that if people had gotten their money from the bureaucrats and listened to me a year ago, 9 months ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a position in silver then to now is wealth creation. Taking silver from $22, $25, $28 to $55, that's wealth creation. At some point, when silver goes to $5,000 an ounce, some big part of that last move will be because the dollar, because of the absolute moral decay, diplomatic decay, intelligence decay, feminism, womanism, the third phase, simpism, and hubris, which is a lot of that's male led, but women now are up in it with the new American century and Zionism and all of that. You know, George H.W. Bush, when we so-called won the Cold War, he said, I'm not going to beat my chest about it. I'm not going to be out there. I'm going to make sure that the other side keeps their. And then the man that Christopher Hitchens wrote a book about and entitled it No One Left to Lie To, came in. And we, for 20, 25 years, the baby boom generation and some a little older, has totally destroyed the USA reputation in the world. And it's a shame. And it's going to accelerate because of Donald Trump's decision to align himself with Hitler in today's moral, how does God test us? If he tested us all with someone exactly like Hitler, we'd all pass, I guess. But here in front of us is a Hitler in the form of Netanyahu, and I'd say most people are failing that moral test. But of course, that's my view. I can't judge for God. But my point is, we are accelerating. Donald Trump is an accelerant for the destruction of the dollar, the US bond market, and the financial strength of the United States. Now, maybe he's doing something 5D chess, and I'll give him credit for it if I look back and say, wow, he did that. And maybe it's the British banking system running everything and it's not us. And maybe they say, well, screw it. We're going down anyway. Let's just go for it for the collateral. And it could be the Zionists, the banks in many cases, and the big funds and the big tech companies in many cases are run by Zionists. And maybe they're doing this because we can always live in Tel Aviv. Hell, they can always live in New Zealand. They can always live in a yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean, be safe. They're not on our side either. They're not on our side. We're the only ones on our side right now. The only way you can look forward for your own independence, your family safety, and your ability to help your friends is to recognize what the world is right now. Nobody's on your side. Nobody. So some of the move in gold and in silver is not going to be wealth creation. It's going to be wealth preservation. We missed, because of bureaucrats, because of lawyers, we missed perhaps the wealth creation phase of silver and gold, and maybe it still has a little bit more. But as the dollar comes off a cliff, and it's going down, it'll bounce. A lot of the precious metals will be just wealth preservation. So in that context, Railtown is a way of increasing our bucket of dollars. I think in the short run, medium term, and perhaps as long as 9 months. Now, let me give you a word about my projections. This woman came on or man, Dennis Alex, and said, you shouldn't give these numbers, we're going to be disappointed. I assume you guys are adults. I assume you know that when I give a projection like $55 by 5.5, that's a little bit of a mental trick. I believe it. I believe it. But it could take longer. Or maybe the stock doesn't go quite that high. But I don't think this stock is 50 cents or $10, $20, $25 in May. And I'm trying to get that. That's both an image, a goal, a mental reminder not to turn this into hot money. I believe, unfortunately, the silver trade, the easy part of it, the easy part of the gold trade is over. Doesn't mean there's not huge upside ahead, huge upside ahead. It's just going to be more volatile. It's just going to be more volatile. And you know, if you purchase silver at 25, it goes to 75 or 100 and then collapses by 50%, you can live it out. But if you buy at 100 and it collapses, you might sell out. So that's what I mean. It's going to get into a more fight your own emotions trading now. But it's okay. We're tough. We're tough. We have to be able to face it. I think the stock market and today's action confirms it for me. I think we've been in a 44-year bull market. That bull market has benefited everything from unqualified women, young women, to feminism, singlehood. It's destroyed marriage in America, traditional marriage, which some people think is good. It's been a bull market for government. It's been a bull market for a lot of isms. It's been a bull market for control of the press, control of the media, concentration of the media. It's been a bull market for the financialization of the United States. It's been a bull market for the concentration of wealth in basically a handful of men on the Wall Street side, and frankly, a handful of oligarchs on the technology side. It's been a bull market for lobbyists. It's been a bull market for very powerful lobbying groups like the baby boomers, AARP, Netanyahu's whatever it is, AIPAC, the drug companies, the food and seed companies, and et cetera, et cetera. It's been a bull market for all that. It's been a bull market for obesity and disease. It's been a bull market for real estate prices. It's been a bull market in bonds. It's been a bull market in equities. It's been a bull market in index funds. It's been a bull market in idiocy, like we're going to go all electric, things like that. Although the market will probably lead us there. It's been a bull market in making sure women, half of all women by the end of the decade who reach age 30 will be childless, and may never marry. It's been a bull market in all of this. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. It's been an aberration in all of human experience, from the baby boomers who rebelled against the Vietnam War legitimately. We had a press back then, and they protested the establishment. Well, here we are at the end of the baby boom generation. It'll take about 5, 10, 15 years for most of them to lose their assets. And then we'll go to the younger, largely womanist generations, which is, it's an experiment. Could work. It might work. Great. It's not my generation. Got to kind of live in my own lane. So what comes? I think there's going to be one last blow off top in the market. I mean, I've had this card going since a year, about almost a year. And I was making similar predictions for the previous year and a half. I've got them in notebooks telling you. But I think the S&P, which is currently 6,700, I think it's going to 8,500. The Dow at 55, let's see, it's now 46,000. I think it's going to 65,000. NASDAQ, this is not, I guess this isn't as bullish a call, but I think the NASDAQ is going to 30,000. But I made these calls when these were down. And I made, these may be too low. My target on the Russell's kind of high, but I think the small cap stocks are going to have a run. I think 4,000 on the Russell. I think 5,000 on gold. I've been saying that a long time. Now everybody's saying it. And I think 120 on silver. But the reason I bring this and this long background is I hope all of this happens over the next 6 months or 9 months, because that gives time for Railtown to get their revenues out and have the company bought. If this rally happens in the next 2 months or by in 45 days, which it could, we're going to go straight up. You're going to see 30%, 40% on funds and index funds and managed money in a short period of time. That'll be the last orgy of returns that are easy in the current iteration of this stock market. Buy the index fund, buy the ETF, give it to the 25-year-old chick at Morgan Stanley to manage that. And I was young too in that field. That is going to be over after you get this huge gain. So I hope it takes 6 months. I hope it takes 9 months. When the market starts going up, and it'll be led, so far the market I think's been kept up maybe by retail, but it might just have been kept up by the reinvestment in all the mutual funds and ETFs and retirement plans and all that. Who knows? But I think what comes next is all those geniuses that manage your money. They want their bonuses at year end. They want to keep their clients. And a lot of them stayed in cash. And I think they're going to have to come in and buy the stocks they don't own that are going up. So when they present the portfolio in January to the investment committee, who's thinking from moving the portfolio from Malam over to UBS, they can say, oh no, we're in these stocks, we're in NVIDIA, we're in this, we're in that, we're in that. They don't have to explain that they bought late. It all blends in. So I think the next move up comes from Wall Street, comes from the institutions, comes from the pools of money out there that are sitting in cash. And as it runs, all of a sudden you guys will be telling me this is great. Tariffs work, which I actually think they do, depending on your goal. And Trump's great, and America's great. When that starts happening, that's when you and I are going to start buying puts, getting our money out. And not that I have a lot, but the trick is going to be, do we sell Railtown if the stock market rallies and then collapses before Railtown gets bought out? And I can't tell you my thoughts on that or my advice on that at that time. I have a couple of thoughts now. One is, as much as people want to be negative on AI, there are really smart people that believe we're just in the first or second inning of this huge technological change, and stocks like NVIDIA have a lot left to the upside. I don't know, but if we can somehow ride Railtown until a NVIDIA, a Microsoft, a Constellation Software, I don't know about a SoftBank or somebody, but somebody buys them for stock, we can get that jump in equity in our accounts without paying taxes. And in many cases, by saving that tax cut, it may give us some buffer to ride out a pullback. Because when the stock market corrects, it'll be severe. It'll make your heart go through your throat. But it might only be 6 months. It might be 9 months. I don't think it'll be more than 2 years. I don't even think it can get to 2 years. Why? Because as the market comes down, the Fed, the Treasury, Congress, you think during the 2008 crisis, or Helicopter Ben, or this last Joe Biden splurge, Stephanie Kelton spending, you think that was profligate? Wait till what comes. There will be massive amounts of money coming from the Fed and the world central banks, from our government. There'll be tax incentives, there'll be encouragement for banks to continue to lend if that particular bank is still in existence. And I think whatever low the market goes down to over the next, 18 months, 24 months, it'll come back up. But the leadership will change and it won't go as high. And then for the rest of the next 15 or 25 years, farmers will drive Maseratis and stockbrokers will drive taxis. So we have to adjust. I think it'll be a commodities world. It'll be a commodities, infrastructure, industrial. The United States is coming home. And the United States needs to rebuild the United States. China will lead maybe in the world economy. Russia might lead with China in protecting the oil in the Middle East, but we'll be coming home. We won't have a choice. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We're a wealthy country, and we've got, it won't be depressing. It's just, it's going to be different, and we have to be ready to play all that. And oh, there was a reason I went all that route with. I can't remember it now. I was going to close it up on Railtown. Yeah, I can't. It'll come to me. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't know, but as that money comes out, people here saying that AI, there's not enough money. You know that was it NVIDIA and OpenAI? There's a circle jerk of financing and all that, which is a real issue. It happened in the dot bomb era. They would book these contracts and then hope the stock market and financing would come through. I think AI, which is much more specific and chopped up than that broad statement, I think AI is going to also create collateral, essentially from thin air. As these monies are printed by the governments, it'll go into commodities, it'll go into developing critical minerals, oil and gas, building the bridges we've neglected. But it'll also, I think, go into AI, because I think that race is real worldwide, country by country. And that kind of money will create the expansion in the equity value of a lot of these companies. It will create collateral. So I'm not negative on AI in a crash. I would guess stocks like Apple could crash and not come back to their lofty numbers because they're just a phone making machine and an ecosystem. China's beating them in phones. Tesla's beating them in the cost of iPad. Yeah, who knows? Somebody comes up with an AI-led operating system, and Apple is the new Nokia. Who knows? But a Microsoft or a NVIDIA or a Tesla or an Apple, if they bought it, they buy a company like Railtown, and they'll buy other companies too. And they bring in cash flow and they bring in the future. That's how they can stay at the top. And that's what I think. I think Railtown will be purchased. And again, to Dennis Alex and others, these are projections, not promises. But you have to have a theory. Why are you hanging on? I think Railtown could be purchased higher sooner than we all expect. All right. Now what I have to do is go through your messages and then go to the media things I have. But let me look at the prices. I mean, just as an example, G-Bucks is down 8 cents at 21 cents, 21.2178. Jeffries, oh, I guess we talked about that last time. Jeffries actually up $2. I think that bank will disappear in the crash. NVIDIA is up. NVIDIA's up $5. I don't know why I have those there. And then Fingers down 11 cents at $1.69.5. Railtown is 50 cents bid, 51 cents ask. It's all bogus. They got 52,426 shares for sale. The volume is now 34,042. The last trades, I can show you some trades. 500 at 0.501. 614 at 0.5025, 1,000 at 51 cents, 1,200 at 0.5025, and of course, the Punisher, 2,000 shares at 11.26, hit the bid, had to get out at 0.4985. All right, I'm going to go through your comments, then I have some things to show you. I don't remember the order they come in, so I'll do them as I pull them up, and we'll go from there. It's 12:40 on Columbus Day. Um, uh, you know, um, and it's Thanksgiving in Canada. Let's just see. I just want to see what the headlines say about the ghosts of Gaza. Yeah, it's terrible. The 20 to 100 or so. It is terrible how they, but no one talks about the Palestinians held and raped and mistreated. Quiet update on China trade war sends stocks surging. What's the spat? So Donald Trump went to Egypt, heralding a new dawn. Oh, I guess he's at Sharm el Sheikh. See, that's what he might be doing. He calls the long and painful nightmare over. For Israelis, he may be setting up that he's moving on from that conflict. It's not a conflict, it's a genocide. Well, anyway, let's leave that subject. Silver trades, silver's missed that trade. We missed it. We missed the easy part of that trade. But now we have to compete with everybody else, the herd. It's life. I hope the bureaucrats take longer and longer and longer, and we'll really have to test our trading abilities. Broadcom shares soar on 10 gigawatt chip deal with OpenAI. Rare earth stocks go vertical. It's good. We want to miss all these trades while we wait for bureaucrats. Silver goes vertical. Well, it'll just test our ability to trade. So if you get in early, you don't have to trade. You can just, everybody else jumps in, you're in early. But luckily, things take over a year because some chick is, like waiting at the DMV. Yeah, there's nothing, no more news today. Gold, Hartnett is calling for gold to 6,000. They're all jumping in now. That's an interesting, I'm going to show that to you if I can. Very interesting. And this is what China went after while we supported a bunch of murderous religious white supremacists. All right, let me go down your quote, your comments, because if I go to the media first, I'll lose the comments. Okay. Bill Miko was first. Hello, Bill. Darren. Hello, Darren. Howdy, Jeff Grimm. MM. Yes, all right, you guys. Fast Eddie. Pat M. There's just one thing you got to ask yourself. Are you feeling lucky? Well, are you, punk? Oh, Mr. Harry, you're not going to like my answer? Marty Party, how are you? Bama Lake. Thoughts on MMTLP? Number one, move your shares to Nextbridge. If you stay in Nextbridge, I think oil prices could go as low as $25 over the next financial collapse, unless we go to war. But I think oil prices per barrel, sort of, I think sooner. But it could happen in an oil embargo. But I think oil prices conservatively will go between $500 and $1,000 a barrel over the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're in Nextbridge, and Greg is a young man, I think he's about mid-60s, early 60s, I think you can make all your money you lost in MMTLP by owning Nextbridge. Now, there are risks. The bad guys are attacking, but I think that's how you make your money back in MMTLP. I also think, particularly in my case, even though I have a very small relative position, I believe Railtown is going to make that money, my finger money, the GTII money, Logic money, CRTD money. And I feel like there's got to be another name out there, the Nixie, I think Railtown's going to make all that money back for me. So you can have a very, I don't know what word, I don't know if parochial would be a word to describe it politely, but you can have a viewpoint that your goal when you're investing is to make sure that every investment you make, you don't lose money on. That's a very early stage investor experience attitude. I think the reason we all invest is to make money. And there's a concept particularly taught to us as if it was a genius concept, but I think everybody innately knows the concept. Any guy that's sitting by a pool with a girl that he kind of knows and likes, and then in walks the girl that he's in love with in the pool, and she's dressed in a bikini. He realizes the concept of opportunity cost. He's being polite, staying with the girl he invited, but he'd like to be over there with the girl that he's in love with. That's opportunity cost. And as long as you're focused on MMTLP, and as long as you're thinking you're going to get a payout or a settlement or a savior, or that Congress or one senator is going to look out for you, you are wasting your energy and you're wasting your emotions and you're wasting your time. And that is coming at a gigantic opportunity cost. You should, in my judgment, be focusing on building a position in Railtown while it's cheap, because that, in my judgment, gives you the greatest chance to make back. In my case, roughly, I lost 44 grand in MMTLP. Now I've moved all my shares over to NextBridge. I expect zero in a settlement, as people call it, or a resolution on MMTLP. I have one caveat on that, but in general, I expect zero. So 1,000 of the shares I own of Railtown in my brain, once it gets to $44 a share, I've made the money back in MMTLP. Everything after that is green. That's how I'm choosing not to be a victim. I'm not waiting for that fat functionary, Robert Cook. I'm not waiting for the revolving door of SEC chairmen, chairwomen, and staff, all trying to get either jobs at Goldman Sachs, Citadel, or one of the white shoe law firms, the Shorts law firms. I'm not waiting for them. I'm not waiting for NASDAQ. I'm not waiting for FINRA. I'm not waiting for, because they're all bought and paid for by Wall Street. And I'm not waiting for Congress. I'm not waiting for Ann Wagner. I have no choice but to get on with my life. You don't have any more time, Bama Lake. The stock market is going to give you this gigantic upside, which, if you're lucky, lasts for more than 6 months. But that's it. That's it. That's it for the bull market, the secular bull market. And this financialization, it's all over. And when it comes crashing down, which won't, I think the market will pull back 95%, which is a dramatic call, but it won't stay down. It'll snap back, but it'll be different leadership. In that collapse, I think all your hopes of a restitution from MMTLP, even you will finally see there's nothing coming. Now, the one caveat I have is fraud. If NASDAQ committed fraud, FINRA committed fraud, if TradeStation committed fraud, if Fidelity committed fraud, well, that's a whole different avenue. And fraud has legs, and fraud pays a lot of attorneys, makes a lot of attorneys wealthy. And so after a decade or two, you'll see the new Peter Angelos. It'll probably be Wes Christensen, a billionaire from this, and you'll get a check in the mail for $50. That's how I see MMTLP. And I lost 44 grand there. Jack Hamilton, good morning, sir. I don't want to jinx it, but RT holding 50 cents on a projected rough Monday. Very good. Maybe because the banks are closed today. Could be. I think it's because the shorts are just these underfunded, opportunistic shorts. It's not a campaign. They're working with each other, but they don't have the firepower to drive it down. And I also think another possible reason is that a lot of the shorting that we see in Tom Ronk's numbers could simply be arbitrage. We don't know, but Jack, it's an excellent sign that the stock is holding in. My opinion, this is your last chance to buy it under 60 cents, under 75 cents. And I'll go through that, what my thinking is. People like that chick, Puke Up, she, she'll attack my thinking. But I come from a standpoint, you can be negative about every small cap company. Effing this, effing that, this isn't going to work, effing. But at the same time, when you look at a high risk or a low probability pool to swim in of various entities, I think one of the reasons to take that jump or that dive is because the upside is great. So if your attitude is, they're all crap, they're all going to go down, well, at least you got into one that if it works, takes you away from here. And that's what I see with Railtown. But that's a great observation, Jack. Richard K., bring on the boom. William and Lucky. Yeah, I miss Lucky. I saw a dog named a guy. What was his name? It wasn't Nellie. Nelson, maybe. But anyway, he was a brown version of Lucky, and he was focused on his treats, but he was very friendly. I saw him yesterday. I saw another dog. There was a boy and a girl, and the boy was very friendly, looked like, a solid colored Lucky. But man, the girl was dangerous. She wanted to bite me and attack me. And the woman holding both of them, I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't unpleasant, but I thought, man, that dog's going to get you in trouble. You got to train it. And then I saw another dog named Jaffe, who wasn't like Lucky. He was so friendly yesterday. All he wanted to do was say hi. His owner got bored. So I miss Lucky. I figure every time a dog says hi to me, I figure it's Lucky upstairs making sure that the dog says hi to me. Bill Miko, you know what pisses me off? You know what? Oh, that's what he said. I think he used the word pissed off. If you're that pissed off, all you had to do was say something. When the woman comes across and bumps into him. Anyway, you know what pisses me off? Just had to pay $40,000 in taxes so our government can drop bombs and steal from the exactly. It's done on behalf of the banks. It's done on behalf of the banks, Bill. And yeah, it's we're paying for it. We're paying for it. Richard K. Railtown is another missed investment of my long-awaited MMTP. There's going to be no settlement in MMTLP. There will not be a settlement. There may be something to get your signature, because that's good business. It's good business to remove risk from the equation, but it won't be meaningful to your pocketbook. And you'll sign it when it comes. It'll be, $1,000 for your position or for your entire position. In my case, if there were a settlement, maybe the settlement would be, I don't know, $400. And people will sign it. It'll be agreed to through a court, and it's going to disappoint you. And I don't know how you can do it, Richard. I don't know how much MMTLP you have, but 1,000 shares of Railtown costs you $500 right now. And if that 1,000 shares goes to 55, sort of second quarter of next year, for me, that's going to pay back my MMTLP. And if the company is bought out at, let's say, $125 a share, and again, I'm making I think it'll be 175. That's my target, is the buyout number. But if it's 75, are you going to get upset? But anyway, in a buyout, that 1,000 shares maybe would cover your entire MMTLP losses. That's how I look at it. You got to take charge of your own account. There's going to be no settlement. There's going to be no restitution that gives you any bankroll back in Railtown, in MMTLP. There's Steve. Hi, Steve. Listen later. All right, let me go to what I have. I've got to just take some things out so I have room. What does Paul Newman say? It's always darkest before it turns absolutely pitch black. All right, I'm taking that one out. Taking this one out. You still have some faith in the system, don't you? I'm going to take that one out. What's this one? Is this automobiles? Oh, installations of industrial robots. China. Sheen. That's 2 years ago. 3 years ago. I'm going to take that out. Depresses me. What's this one? Warren Buffett, 4 reasons to sell. 1, needs the money for other things. 2, loses confidence in the management. 3, loses confidence in the business. 4, the stock is overpriced. All right, I'm going to take that out. What's this one? Silver has been short a full year of mine production over the last 5 years of silver supply deficits. I'll leave that one in. It depresses me. Market size comparison. The silver market is so tiny. I'll leave that in because I'm depressed. Mexico, here's Mexico leading. I'll leave that in because it's depressing. Mexico is the largest silver producer. Sheen is second. Peru is third. Where is USA? USA. USA. Where is USA? All right, I'm going to leave that in. What's this? Oh, I don't want to talk about silver. I'm so depressed about it. All right, I'm going to take all these rail towns down. There's rail tracks, there's shredder. You know about that. I'm going to take that down. I just need room for files. Conductor and line tracks, I'm going to take it down. I can always bring it back up later. This is, well, let me take that comment down. This is, of course, the comment didn't come down. There we go. Let's go back to media. So this is, I'm going to take this down so I have some space, but this is the partnerships. Obviously, there's the companies they have, Conductor, Rail Tracks, Lang Tracks, Shredder, but here's their partners. Obviously, Mila, which is a quasi think tank, Amy, a quasi think tank with funding and with brain power and government support. But then you see it, Microsoft partner, Microsoft co-ready, Microsoft founders. Microsoft's a logical buyer. NVIDIA Inception program, NVIDIA is a logical buyer. Then you see the University of British Columbia. I don't think they're a buyer. And then you see AMD. They're a logical buyer. All right, I'm going to take that down. Here is the study, just to bring it back to your mind. Looking backwards, the year of 2018, 19, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Over 90 merger and acquisition deal in the AI space. In the AI space. What were the multiples? The high over here, 54.8 multiple on revenue, and the low, 12.8%. Average, 25.8. That's from 2024 backwards. Just so you see them, the high, 55, middle, 25, low, 12. All right, this is the short position. This is when it was 40 million. And up here you can see the percentage short on a given day, 60, 70, 80, 60, 80, 90, 70, 70, 70, 70, 40, 50, 70, 70, 70, 80, 60, 80% of the sales volume is short. I'm going to take that down. Give me some space. Because it's dated information anyway. Take that down. All right, and what does this say? Software is eating the world, but AI is going to eat software. Software is eating the world, but AI is going to eat software. Jensen Huang. I'll leave that with here. What's this? This is some, we all have opinions. We all have opinions to pick, or we pick our noses. I say the same for shorts. Covering them will drive prices to the sky. This is from him, Short Killer, and he's projecting here that G-Bucks goes to 150. It's 25 cents. I'm not picking on him. And then QNTM, I don't know where that's trading to 100. And then MTN, very high, but it's $4 now, I think. And Finger speaks for itself. I don't know. If you want to continue to chase these, the opportunity cost is very high while you chase them. What's this one? Here's Tony when he was negative on Railtown. Will the Railtown acquisition ever close? Plus some chat about stock promoters. Anyway, he's on the side of Railtown now, so let's delete that. Frankie says, with this video, Two Shoes has proved that he has zero clue. Anyway, let's get off of mothers after all. All right, here's Corey Brandolini. Here, Dr. Core Senate. Corey Brandolini says, gonna be special. Railtown Technologies and AI Partnerships Corp. Come see what we're talking about. Well, they've already merged or acquired. He's already acquired them, so I'm gonna delete that. I'm freeing up some space. The cost of U.S. wars since 2001 estimated to be about $8 trillion, according to Watson. Well, $8 trillion for 2 decades. How's the bridge you're driving over doing? The electric grid. The current replacement of the electric grid would cost $5 trillion. So instead of replacing our electric grid, we bombed a bunch of countries on behalf of is not real. I'm going to take that down, something to do with how Palestinians are doing. See, we can't talk about this. This is a headline. As mass starvation spreads across Gaza, our colleagues and those we serve are wasting away. Each morning, the same question echoes across Gaza. Will I eat today? Will I eat today? Massacres at food distribution sites in Gaza are occurring near daily. As of July 13, the United Nations confirmed 875 Palestinians were killed while seeking food. 201 were killed on aid routes, and the rest at distribution points of that number. Thousands more have been injured. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have forcibly displaced nearly 2 million exhausted Palestinians, with the most recent mass displacement order issued on July 20th. That's genocide. Confining Palestinians to less than 12% of Gaza. What's different about what the Nazis did? What's different? Anyway, I'm going to take that down. Rebecca Kurzweil, Railtown is building the infrastructure layer for agentic AI. Excited to share an update on what we're building at Railtown AI Technologies and our pending acquisition of AIP. Railtown is developing the infrastructure layer for agentic AI tools and frameworks that help developers build, manage, and scale intelligent applications. At the center of all this is Conductor, our flagship AI platform. Think of it as an orchestra conductor for software development, managing complexity, ensuring stability, and helping engineering teams deploy faster and with greater confidence. To support Conductor, we also have built two powerful frameworks, LangTrax and Railtrax. These frameworks are now being commercialized as standalone platforms, enabling other companies to build their own agentic tools more quickly and more efficiently. AI Partnerships Corp has built a uniquely Canadian network of AI companies focused on shared infrastructure services and collaboration. Take that down. This acquisition brings an affiliate model to life, one where portfolio companies don't just coexist, they accelerate each other's growth by building on common frameworks and technologies. It's scalable, modern, as an approach to ecosystem building, and it sets the stage for a stronger, more connected Canadian AI sector. Canadian built, globally relevant, and the 51st state. Just kidding. Railtown was built with efficiency in mind, except when it comes to attorneys. Maybe AI can replace attorneys. In a world where US startups might raise $10 million to chase the market, Canadians founders often do it with a fraction of the capital and still deliver. Our approach reflects that reality. Build once, build right, and enable others to scale on what we've built. With more updates coming soon, including framework commercialization and expanded partner deployments, I'd love to connect. Why don't we gather? We could meet at, let's have a mixer, and everyone could get to know each other. Anyway, she's great. I'm not making fun of her. All right, let's see what's here. This might be another. Yeah, this is when the short position was 46 million. And you can see up here, 70%, 70%, 85%, 90%, 75%, 60%, 80%, 80%, 80%, 70%, 50%, 50, 50, 70. That's the percentage of stock being sold under the Reg Show market maker exemption that doesn't exist into the market. I'm going to take that down. I'm going to have a lot of space. These are all the headlines, and I was trying to give you at that time a breakdown. I'm going to take it down. What's this? This is Tone Hun again. Let's take down Tone Hun. What's this? Oh, this was my predictions. Prediction. Pain. So I predicted if the news came out, which it didn't, I thought that Railtown would be $5. I still think that's right. I still think Railtown will be $5. Will it come next week? This week, I mean? Maybe. But I think it'll come in October. But I was wrong about October 1. NRGV, it was $1. It's over 3, so I was wrong there. Mountain, last time I looked was like $4 or something. Let me look what it is. Yeah, $4. So I was right here, although it's even worse. Nixie, let me look at Nixie. Is $1.78. So it's bounced back up. I was actually correct about this earlier this month because the stock went under $1.50, roughly around October 1. So I'm going to count this one as being correct. Finger, the reason I picked $1.25 is I thought they'd do a financing. They haven't. And Finger is trading at, I don't know. Let me look. $1.70. So I would say, in the sense that everybody was calling for this to rocket higher, you might give me credit for that. But I'm wrong on the target, and I'm going to take that down. What's this? Oh, these are my projections, trying to compare if you had purchased Railtown in June, what you had in August against everybody else. And I think it worked out to my favor, but I'm going to take it down. And this is it again. The argument here is if you just bought one stock, Railtown, you're ahead by 6,500 on August 7th. If you spread it out across all these stocks in this vain attempt to chase diversification, well, you get a mediocre return. You're up 1,200. Of course, this chart here was before we went through the difficulty of the stock pulling back to, I just deleted it, of pulling back to 44 or whatever, 45, 40. Did it get as low as, I don't know if it got as low as 42. All right, here's the data center capacity in gigawatts. I'll take this down, but I'll read it first. The United States is 54 gigawatts worth. I suppose that's what it says. China, 32 gigawatts worth. The EU, 12. Japan and Korea, 7. Other North America, I guess that's Canada, maybe that's prior to the 2 data centers that were just announced. I don't know. The UK, 2.6. Anyway, you get it. USA. What's this? Oh, these are revenue numbers. What happens at 3 million in revenue? If you look over here, 3 million in revenue, ARR, 21 million, 300 million, sorry. These are the target markets. I used 3 billion, 21 billion, 300 billion, 17 billion and 132 billion. And then I use 3% penetration, in the second column, 90 million, 630 million, 9 billion, 516, and 4 billion down here, that right down here. And then used a 25x in the blue. And that gave a per share target of, it's extraordinary. Some of these targets are just fantastical. And then over here on this side, where it says 90%, I reduced those numbers by 90%. I can't see what's under lucky, but here a $9 target, here a $130 target, here a $7.50 target, and here a $58 target. I'm going to take that down. I'm going to take that down. And here's the target markets where you can find this on the Railtown website. One of the markets, the global developer tools market, is expected to grow to 17 billion per year. And the global AI as a service market is expected to grow to 132 billion. And the sources are independent. I'm going to take that down. These are some recent deals. I'm going to leave this in my file. G, whatever, with 500 million in revenue, recently valued at 150x. I want you to focus on that 500 million. There's no reason that Railtown cannot be projected to get to 500 million sometime during next year in a forward projection. So let's just fantasize that it gets this same 150x valuation. Problem is, to get to 500 million might take 12 months or 18 months. And if I'm correct that this space is going to consolidate very quickly, the company might not exist by then. But anyway, let's just fantasize a $75 billion market cap or enterprise value divided by 250 million shares. That's $300 target. It's a $300 target. Decagon doing 10 million in revenue. Look at that number for a minute. 10 million in revenue. 10 million in revenue. Can I point that out again? Looking forward, 10 million in revenue. They get a $1.5 billion valuation. ChainGuard doing 40 million in revenue. Again, entirely plausible that Railtown leads this year with a 40 million forward-looking revenue. If you assume 88 times 40 million, you get 3.5 billion. On 250 million shares, that's $14 a share. Railtown could be doing 40 million whenever they decide to start talking about revenue. I don't know. Glean, 100 million. Again, 100 million is a completely achievable target for Railtown. At 72x, that's 7.2 billion. Well, what's 7.2 billion? It's $29 a share. If we achieve $100 million, let's say leaving this year, forward forward projection, and we get Galen's multiple, it's a $29 stock. Harvey, 75 million. We can do 75 million. It's 5 billion, so it's less than $29. I'm not going to calculate it. 100 million at 60x. Again, it'll be lower than 29. You can, I'm not going to calculate it, but these are all examples of what 100 million, 75 million gets. Cohere at 55 times. And then a bridge at 45 times. Andrill doing 100 million. No, I'm sorry. I think Andrill is doing, I can't read that. It must be a billion a year. It must be a billion a year right here. We're not there yet, but we could be. And then you get a 30 billion valuation. Look at Ramp, 700 million. I think in 12 months, 18 months, we could be at 700. And look at that, 16 billion. These are your comps. These are real. This is AI. It's based against revenue, forward revenue. I'm not going to delete that one. Oh, this is the vote for a Palestinian state. And United States firmly on the side of the Nazis, on the side of the bad guys. You got Israel, Hungary, Palau, Panama, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, United States, and Argentina. I get the picture. My Wi-Fi was off. All right, let me go to the comments. Did I lose all the comments? I did. I lost all, no, they're here. All right, there's the revenue, 400 million. Let me take that down. I'm going to take this. I'm going to delete that. What's this? Railtown, we're excited to announce that Railtown AI Technologies will be demonstrating. Yeah, that was a great announcement. I'm taking that down. What's this say? What does this say? It's the same thing. So I'll take one of them down. Take this one down. I'll take that down. All right, now I can go get some media. Let me see your comments first. I'm Almost Legend. Tony D made a video yesterday about the recent filings. I gave him a listen to see why he countered your views in price targets. Did he really? Well, that's fine. Look, my price targets, as I go higher on the price target and out, there's going to be great variability as to the actual results. I stand by my price targets, but there can be no question there's risk to those targets. We got to fill in revenue, amount of shares, multiple, a lot of things. I was trying to get your counter opinions and impression if you saw it. I don't watch his videos. I just do my own videos. He also mentioned there won't be another report from the person who gave Railtown a $2 target because that person doesn't work for Railtown anymore. Well, look, that seems very specific information. And if he was given that information, he probably wasn't supposed to talk about it. But that analyst never worked for Railtown. Venkata Vanputta Vali Parunda. This person, they never worked for Railtown. Never worked for Railtown. So you got to be careful of Tony then. Maybe he's trying to be on everybody's side, and then his goal is to get you to sell and turn this money into equity everybody can play with. But I'm Almost Legend is just not accurate to the best of my information. This is an independent research firm. As far as I know, and I never talked to Corey Brandolini, if I get different information, this is an independent analyst who was not paid by the company. This came out from this analyst at Research Capital on their own. I don't know what Tony knows. I would think, because I really don't trust him, I would think he's making that part up, but I don't know. And he says that maybe there's another analyst who provides an update. Anyway, you and your price targets were inadvertently mentioned. Let me make this clear, I'm Almost Legend, since he's making something up and he's bringing this up. I cannot tell you anything that I've been told in confidence, but I can make a prediction. When this analyst, Venkata Velagapudi, updates his or her research, I think the target will be 10 times this. That's my prediction. It'll be $20. Sounds a lot like Cam saying that the research coming out on Finger will be $20. And you could say, well, your objection then was that analysts normally don't go that high. I don't think, with the knowledge that we have, that this analyst will have any choice but to go at very high numbers, possibly higher. How about I'll say $20, give or take $5. So it could be a $15 target or a $25 target. I want to be clear again. This analyst will put out a report as far as I know. If Tony knows something differently, I doubt he was allowed to talk about it, or he's making it up. I'm not going to watch Tony. I think Tony works for the shorts, is paid by the shorts. I think he's a lightweight, and I just don't need to fill my head. He came in here and attacked this idea early on, cast aspersions about me, and kept people from buying the stock. And for that, I can't forgive him. Richard K. Why chase when you can be in the shotgun seat of Railtown when it runs to 55 and beyond. I'm not sure what you mean, but I think what you mean is why chase gold or something like that when you can be in Railtown. I agree with that right now. Uh, I think Railtown at some point in the near future is going to go up so quickly it gives you whiplash, and that's why I see it. See it. So anyway, I'm Almost Legend. A lot of these guys come in, pretend to be your friends, and then they pull the rug out. I don't know who to trust. I really don't, but I don't trust Tony. I don't trust him at all. I don't think he's good. I don't. He's been given access to information that, for example, he's talked about TELUS. I don't know what he was told, but anyway, I just really question why the company talks to him. He doesn't have a huge following. I think he is paid by the shorts. But hey, you can hear he gets you thinking he's on your side, and then he's telling you that this guy's not going to put out a report. Well, let me ask you, what if Research Capital put out a report and the name changed? Is that the same deal, Research Capital? I think Research Capital is going to put out a report that's, I mean, it might, maybe they start with an $8 target. And then when it hits 8, they issue an update, a research update, and goes to 15. And when it hits 15, they go to 20. I don't know. These guys, in my judgment, could come out with a report next week. They never, this Venkata Velakapundi never worked for the company, in my information. But, you know, Tony, honey, gets direct updates from the company. So I'm sure his motives are good. If you detect some sarcasm, it's because I'm being sarcastic. Railtown up 3%. Do that twice a week and it'll be a very Merry Christmas. Well, Richard, I stand by my projection. On average, I think the stock will be up $1 a week this year. On average. Math, Science, Computer. I Am Almost Legend said it incorrectly. He meant that the analyst doesn't work for Research Capital anymore. Okay. Well, I guess I kind of guessed that. Well, so he's, you know, this group works with shorts sometimes. And maybe Tony knows that because he works with the shorts. Or maybe the company told him that. I would predict Research Capital comes out with research. And I would predict wherever Vela Vinakata Putta Pundi is, they'll come out with a report. I'm bullish if you can't tell. I'm bullish. I'm Almost Legend. You're right. Thank you for the correction. All right, I want to go bring some media thoughts to this, my media. My things. It says media assets when I hit the button. That's what I'm referring to. So I want to bring some things to the discussion that I worked on. And you might find it useful. You might not. I hope you find it useful. And how do I show it to you? It's a good question. How do I show it to you? I guess I'll just do it in the order that I Saved it. Okay. I'm almost legend. This is AIP. This is the network of companies. And I wrote in the purple my headline. You each can do this. I'm just doing it. We don't have a lot of information. So I'm making some assumptions. I start with this assumption. AI Partnerships has 160 companies doing 400 million in revenue in its network. In its network. I start with that assumption. And now they've bought AIP. So over the next 2 quarters, that's what it says under Lucky up there. It says estimate of revenue rolled up over the next 2 quarters. And remember, all you have to do it is for forward projections. So what we know on line 4, what we know is 160 companies collectively are doing 400 million. We also know on line 4 that currently there's 180 companies in that network. But I didn't increase the revenue target. Now, using the 80-20 rule, the Pareto optimal idea, that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers, I took the top line, 400 million, and 180 companies. I didn't increase the revenue. And I said, let's take 80% of the revenue and 20% of the companies. So I got it down to 320 revenue and 36 companies. Now, here's where maybe I'm pushing the theory of 80-20, but I did it again. I just did it again. So I took 80% of 320 million. It comes down to 256 million. I took 36 companies down to 7. Then I did it one more time. So that brought the revenue down to 200 million for 2 companies. There's no such thing as 1.44 companies. So basically, if pressing the theory of 80-20, if they roll up 2 companies, they might get 200 million in revenue, according to this simplistic use of the 80-20 rule. At the bottom of this, I point out to you that digital has 1,500 members in their network. 1,500. So the point of this exercise that I was trying to do, and obviously there's no correct answer, now that Railtown has purchased AIP, how much forward revenue can we expect the company to book by the end of the year? 2 quarters maybe, 4th quarter and 1st quarter. Remember, it's all Canadian lawyers. So that's the one thing I calculated. If they roll up 2 companies, 200 million is what that formula came up with. And then I went to, well, let's see what I went to. I think I went to Railtown next. Yeah. So I went, what kind of revenue can Railtown be expected to book by the end of the year, over the next 2 quarters, actually? My headline is annual revenue booked forward from pipeline, from their pipeline over the next 2 quarters. It's just it's a guess. So I made one assumption. One assumption. You can say it's a crazy assumption. How do I prove it? I don't know. But I made one assumption. They will not sign up a revenue contract for less than $1 million in annual revenue. I made that assumption on average. So we know at the top that they already announced a deal with RLAIF AI Technologies. We know they announced a deal with Ignite Sequence, LLC. They announced one with Brait AI, Inc., and announced one with Uniserv Corp, Uniserv Communications. So this is my guesstimate. I said that sometime over the next 2 quarters, Railtown will be able to project $1 million in annual revenue from ESG, Ignite, and then under Uniserv, they have 3,000 companies. I bumped that up to 3 million. My guesswork. You can do whatever you want if you sit down with a pad of paper. So from those first 4 revenue contracts, I calculated 5 million in forward revenue being able to be assumed sometime forward, 4th quarter or 1st quarter. Now, I gave Brait 0. I've worked in the Middle East. Brait might be fantastic, but I don't know that. What my experience was over and over again, and I wasn't a hotshot, so, and it was years ago. Things might be different now. But lots of times when you signed a contract in the Middle East, depending on who you sign it with, it's just up on the shelf and no one's working it. So just as a little buffer, I gave that 0. Now then, what did I do? In the orange, in the tan there, AIP Network has 180 network companies who 160 of them represent 5,000 clients. 5,000 clients. So I assumed at $1 million a client, Railtown, by the 4th quarter, 1st quarter time frame, signs up 5 of them at $1 million a year. So I put the estimate at 5 million. Digital has 1,500 companies. I put 0. And then just to spread it out, I tried to figure if they have such a great pipeline and they have all these 180 companies and the 1,500 companies, and they have been working, how many news and revenue announcements could there be? So I just tried to pick maybe 1 a week at $1 million projected revenue. Now, they may not announce that revenue right away. This might be something they discuss in private meetings, or maybe they collect a lot of these announcements before they put it out to the public. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with my guess, wild-ass guess, see here, wild-ass guess, of what Railtown's revenue could be by the end of this year, end of the 1st quarter time frame, the next 6 months, the next 2 quarters. So I just said, all right, they'll sign up 1 company at $1 million a year in the 3rd week of October. That's this week. They'll sign up 1 revenue company doing $1 million a year, projecting it the 4th week of October. Another one the 5th week, another one the 1st week of November, 2nd week of November, 3rd week of November, and I assumed in the 4th week of November they wouldn't announce anything. And then I took it over to November, the second week of November, I assumed they'd be able to appear. They'd be able to sign up another company. The third week of November, another company. I assumed nothing for the fourth week of November. December, sign up one. The second, sign up another. The third week, sign up another. Then the fourth, fifth week of December, first and second week of January, nothing. Then the third week of January, you see it, all the way through the fourth week of March, they do one a week. And then I assumed the last week of March, nothing. So I added all that up through the first quarter, and I calculated that Railtown could reasonably, according to me, sign up forward revenue of $30 million over the next 2 quarters. Then I created this spreadsheet. At the top in the yellow box from AIP, I only took half. If you remember, with AIP, I came to 204 million by doing the 80-20 rule all the way down. I wasn't comfortable with that answer, completely comfortable with it. So I only right up here, I only took half, right up here on the third line, AIP. So some point over the next 2 quarters, and you'll see it up here, within 6 months. The title is Estimated Annual Recurring Revenue Forward Projection, in parentheses, forward projection within 6 months. So I used a guesstimate for AIP of 100 million, 102 million, 400,000. I took half of that number. I took Railtown's estimate that I gave at 30 million. So I came up with a forward projection for Railtown sometime over the next 2 quarters being able to be projected as their annual recurring revenue. Then down here, starting at line 5, you can see the head of that headline. I use the various multiples that we've talked about: 25x, 35x, 50x, 75x, 100x, 150x, 175x, and 200x. In the middle column, I came up with the annual, I should have typed it in there above it, but I came up with the enterprise value based on that multiple. The multiple I'm using is against the 132 million in revenue, and I'm simply assuming the enterprise value as a multiple of the revenue. And there's the X. And I probably should put equal up here, but I was trying to make it fit in the column. So anyway, at 25 times 132 million, you got a $3 billion company. At 35 times 132 billion, you got a $5 billion company. At 50 times, you got a $6 billion company. At 75 times, you got a $10 billion company. At 100 times, you got a $13 billion company, and so on. Then I divided it by 300 million shares. There's 222 million shares outstanding now, fully diluted. So I used I pointed 3 fingers here at the most reasonable target. 50 times that estimate here of 132 million times 50 gives a target of $22 a share sometime in the fourth quarter or first quarter. But I think it's completely plausible that the market will give a company with high profit margins, first to market, and with high growth, 75 times that revenue, 132 times 75x. That gives a $33 price per share. And again, I equally point out they could give 100 times, and that's a $44 a share price. There's no reason we saw earlier they could get 150 times. And you see the prices rise as the multiples go crazy, 66, 77, and 88. And then down here, I won't belabor it, but if they're able to project double the 132 million by the end of the first quarter next year, at 50 times that number, you have a $44 target. 75 times, you have a $66 target. But what I want to point out is this one right here, $22. My own opinion, even though I'm saying within 6 months, I think it's plausible that, or it's possible, probable, that Railtown can show over 100 million from these two sources, as I explained, by the end of the year. And that's where I get my target of a very high, very strong price movement by the end of the year. I'll put up this analysis against any of Tony Two Shoes's at any time. Now, I'm giving you my assumptions. I'm giving you my comparisons to these kind of multiples, and I'm drawing the conclusion. You can come up with it your ways, your way. Let me go back to your comments. Slowtronic. You're absolutely right about minimum revenue. They will not sign and waste time for under 7. That's my guess. That's my assumption, on average, So that's how I come up with my targets, kind of year-end-ish, maybe into the first quarter. A lot of assumptions, but I also think it's all very plausible. I think it's very plausible. It's happening to other companies. I showed you the list. There's some companies there. Let's see how the stock is trading. Fingers down 10 cents at 170. Nixie's down 7 cents at 177. Mountain is down 32 cents at 397. G-Bucks is down 8 cents at 21 cents, a little over 21 cents. And Railtown is 0.507. It's 0.50 by 0.51. 74,000 shares. I just showed the last trade being 200 shares at 11.26. So there's really not a lot of trading in the last couple hours. All right, let me show you. let me take that down and just try to go through some of the other. So you see, we can go through those numbers again. Let me just do it before I move on. What I did is for AIP, I took the 400 million and I reduced it 80-20, then I reduced it 80-20, then I reduced it 80-20, and then I took half of that, and I took half of that. Is it plausible with 2 companies they could get 100 million? Maybe not. Maybe they got to roll up more companies than that. But I had to start somewhere. And I figure they'll start with the biggest revenue they can find. And then down here, digital's meaningful. Digital is really meaningful. And I left that out. Then I went over and I calculated wild ass guess. I basically, with Railtown, I assumed they could book, looking forward, $1 million in annual revenue for every revenue deal they announce. I assume Bray at zero. I assume digital at zero, even though that's a lot of companies to work with. And I basically just assumed, sort of out of the gate, AIP network, there's just 5 companies out of those 5,000. But then over time, maybe from AIP, maybe from digital, maybe from new sources, that on average, with a few weeks for holidays, they get $1 million per week. That's what I did. So I came up with a total of 30 million booked forward-looking revenue for Railtown in 2 quarters. And then I took those numbers, added them together, and I already told you I took half of the AIP number. I put those together, and I would stick with this one right here with the 3 fingers. 50 times gives you $6.6 billion market cap, enterprise value, divided by 300 million shares, which is way more than they have. It gives you a $22 target. And I actually think that could happen by the first month, by January. In January, that could happen. So anyway, that's how I came up with those numbers. Let me see if I can find. Well, this is a different subject. I do want to point out to you this one. Well, we'll go through these. And I'm missing one. No, here we go. All right, so I got to go. Let's just start with Corey. Corey Brandolini posted this. What is digital? This is Corey. See up here? What is digital? Canada's global innovation cluster for digital technologies, bringing together industry, academia, and government to accelerate Canadian digital innovation. 780 million here invested into Canadian-led innovation projects. 18,000 plus Canadians skilled for the digital economy. 1,200 organizations are engaged. So that's a source potentially of customers. That's a source of employees, and that's a source of funding. So it's a good deal. I'm going to take that one down for now. Now let me see where we go from there. I really don't know. Let me go here. All right, let's look at SoundHound. Here's SoundHound. This is a comp. $7.8 billion market cap, enterprise value, right here. says market capitalization, 7 billion. So that includes debt. $17 stock, it's been under pressure. This is SoundHound. What is SoundHound? Yes, SoundHound is an AI company that specializes in voice AI and conversational intelligence. Founded 2 decades ago, it provides AI solutions which allow business to integrate voice-activated technology into products and services for retail, automotive, and healthcare. Its core technology focuses on processing speech to create more natural and accurate conversational experiences. SoundHound, Smart Answering, Smart Alec, and Smart Ass. Key technologies: speech to meaning, deep meaning, mission. Mission is to add voice AI to everything. Nag, nag, nag. SoundHound AI is not a profitable company, though it is experiencing rapid revenue growth, but its net losses widened significantly. Growing losses. Competition. The company faces stiff competition from Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft. Those are logical buyers: Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Logical buyers for Railtown. Revenue streams. Blah, 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 blah. Second quarter revenue, 40 million. Full year 25 outlook, 160 to 178 million. Call it 175 million. They're trading at 35 multiple, roughly. And when you come back here at 132 million, which will be profitable, my understanding is this is massively profitable. If you use a 35 multiple, you come out with a $15 price target by the end of the year, using more stock than's issued or fully diluted. Railtown measures up to the competition. It really does. And this further conversation of digital. What is digital and why it matters? Today's announcement, this is further on Corey's post. Today's announcement marks an exciting milestone for Railtown Technologies as we formalize our relationship with digital, Canada's global innovation cluster for digital technologies. But what exactly is digital, and why is this partnership significant? Digital, formerly Digital Supercluster, is I can see why they changed their name, is a national innovative initiative. It's a national initiative that brings together industry, academia, and government in order to accelerate Canada's leadership in the digital innovation space. Digital has invested $780 million in Canadian-led innovation projects, engaged 1,200 plus organizations across the tech ecosystem, and has trained 18,000 Canadians for the digital economy. By joining forces Railtown with digital, Railtown AI is aligning with one of the most innovative networks having the greatest impact in the country in the areas of advancing AI adoption, talent development, and commercialization of AI across industry. This collaboration strengthens our mission to empower developers and enterprises with scalable agentic AI solutions, accelerating real-world use cases across software, automation, and beyond. Kind of exciting. All right, I might have to figure out I had a couple more things in but I want to talk about the overall stock market. Maybe before I do that, I will check your messages. I want to talk about the last 45 years. And we cannot become complacent that it's going to continue. One of the best ones didn't come up. Let me just send myself some pictures. Because they're not coming up. This one didn't come up. So let me take a picture of that. Let me reduce this. Reduce this. Done. Save to photos. I'm going to send myself 2 photos. Send it to myself. And then I'll download it in a second after I read your messages. Okay. Hey, Ward Richardson. Good afternoon. I see AI energy stocks are up sharply, such as Oklo, as high as 173. Yeah, let me look at that chart. Spellcheck changed it to Polo. Marco Polo. Wow. What a stock. What a beast. What a beast. That looks like a SPAC that actually worked. I'll take a picture of it. Send it to myself. I'm going to sit right down and send myself a picture. Oklo looks like a SPAC that worked. How's that possible? How come our SPACs don't work? Okay. Let's what do I do? I know what I do. I'm going to lose all these comments. So I got to go here. And here. And then I've got to go here, here. Ah, shoot. And I've got to go add. Ah, there we go. And then, of course, everything arrives. All right, so 1, 2, 3. I want to show you one chart that is amazing. All right, let me go to your comments. All right, the US side was up. Now it's flat. Let me look. Yeah, but it's the bid, Slowtronic. It's 50 cents bid by 51 cents, and the last trade is on the bid at 75,000. And it's 1,000 shares. So it's, it's okay. We can accept it. Slowtronic, they really need to start dropping news asset. $5 by Christmas is so. Well, I have a little bit of a difference with that. I really don't think it matters what we know. I don't think it matters what the news is. As far as we are concerned. I think what matters is they book the business and they start building that revenue. I think what's going to be more critical is that they build a very strong revenue case. Whether it's public or internal, to me, it doesn't matter. What matters to me, let's just pick a name. What matters to me is Microsoft knows about it, or Omers knows about it, or now, of course, you're right. They can't trade on material non-public information, but so you're right. There needs to be public announcements. But I guess what I'm addressing is my concern that their announcements are always going to be kind of watered down in a very polite, we're doing this with the government, MOU, lawyers are going to have written it with very almost anodyne quotes. And I'm not sure each announcement is going to make the stock go up. I think what's important is bankers and analysts maybe and potential buyers may sign NDAs and they can look at those numbers. And perhaps institutions, I don't know how it fleshes out because there will be buying. It's not going to be a situation where they're not going to be able to buy. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm not convinced that the revenue announcements that they announce are going to be any more detailed than the last ones. And so maybe the way they'll get the story out is through corporate presentations, uh, uh, Corey going out and telling the story publicly, um, and maybe earnings announcements, management discussions, and then revenue forecasts maybe come out with research reports and otherwise, but maybe not in each specific announcement. I don't know. I might be being too negative on that, but I'm not anticipating that their revenue announcements are going to be any different than their current revenue announcements. So I agree with you. It's important to get news out, but I think it's more important for the ultimate value of the company to just book the revenue, 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 book the revenue. And if they do that and they don't tell us about it, I'm fine. Each time, as long as they're giving guidance about their progress, I'm fine. I don't need to know each one down to the nickel. Sam Altman backed Oklo. That's interesting. Oklahoma. It's not Louisiana. Oklahoma. I don't know what the O stands for. 50, 51, 75,000 shares. Low volume. Ward Richardson. Sam is also serving as chairman with Oklo. That's amazing. Amazing story. Amazing story. All right, let me show you something that I have the book. I have a book back here and one in the other room, I think. It might be in storage about geography. But this came out, I forget where I saw it. I saw it last night or this morning. I think it's fascinating. This is the true size of Africa. Africa. We think USA, USA, USA. Look at USA in the yellow. I don't know what percentage of Africa that is, but USA is what, a quarter of Africa? And what's interesting down here in Nambia, there's a oil and gas company who I really like. I've been following them. They've discovered a huge play in oil in Africa. No one wants to be there because of corruption, but they're not corrupt, this country. And then they've purchased acreage in the next country, which I'm having a mental block of my geography there. But they have huge swaths of acreage covering this oil play. And what I like about the company and the chairman, he seems like I might have shaken hands with him, but he wouldn't know me. I've been to the breakout rooms. But he goes in and his team, and they will build community water wells, and then they'll put in pipes to facilities. And I don't know if it's going to lead to homes, but these villages have clean water and they don't have to take the risk of guinea worm and other waterborne parasites I just think it's terrific. But anyway, look at the United States. Look for all of our wealth, all of our oil, all of our coal, all of our timber, all of the fur that started the Astor fortune. It's just a quarter of Africa. Look at Spain, the little blue country. Look at Saudi Arabia. It's just part of the Sahara Desert. Look at Iran. Look at India. India is, I don't know, a sixth, a seventh? And then look at China. China's essentially, it looks bigger, but China's essentially the same as the United States. It says 2 point, I think ours is 3.1 and China's 2.9 or something. Isn't that incredible? Look at France, very small. And in the little Turkey down here in Madagascar, I guess that is. Isn't that incredible? So when we talk about the rest of the world, I mean, it just brings some perspective. Let's look at Oklo. That seems to be a SPAC that worked. Here it is, $10. $10. They took it up, and then, of course, the criminals destroy it. Of course. Of course. Any company that needs money on Adina Friedman's NASDAQ is going to be destroyed, even if it's a good company. And that proves it. They had a good idea. But Adina doesn't care. As long as women are on boards, that's all she's focused on. But look at the huge move. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Except for these bastards doing this. All right. I want to talk about the stock market. Look at this. This goes back to 1900 down here. The San Francisco earthquake, panic of 1906. No, I don't remember it. I do remember the pandemic of 1919. No, I don't remember that. But look at the Great Depression. I can't point to it to you, but you can see it in the middle there. 1929. Look how the market rallied and then rallied into it. Couple of things about that. The stock market crashed. Right at the beginning there was that sharp crash, and then it rallied. And then it went over 1929 and into the first part of the decade. The country went into the Great Depression. And I guess that looks like about a 3-year decline, 3.5-year decline. And then the market did start recovering. The various FDR initiatives. But it wasn't until guns and butter under Johnson that the stock market got back on an, I don't think this is adjusted for inflation, or maybe it is. Doesn't say anywhere. It must be adjusted for inflation. Otherwise, we'd have a different chart. So it wasn't until Johnson that the stock market ever came back to the 1929 highs, roughly. So that's, 30 years. And then, of course, the 6-Day War because the white religious colonial supremacists were victims. They won there. But there, you see all this, the Arab oil embargo, Watergate, fall of Saigon, all of that, we basically went sideways all the way until the Iranian Revolution. And that was when Reagan, or at least his staff, may have committed treason in talking with Iran with missiles to hold up on the release of hostages until after the election and until after Reagan was sworn in, leaving Jimmy Carter looking like a loser, which I don't think he was. But anyway, no one cared. But at the Iranian Revolution, that's when the stock market, so you come to Vietnam and you go basically up a bit, but mostly sideways, all the way until Jimmy Carter appointed Paul Volcker and Reagan got credit for it. And in 1982, after a severe recession under Reagan, the stock market started an ascent that's been unprecedented. 45 years up, interrupted by, in retrospect, the great financial crisis. I can't point to it, GFC, was a correction. But it only took a year or two or three, I can't tell from the chart, to get back to that number and march on higher. There's been a couple of corrections that were heart-stopping, but the market keeps going up. Are we headed to something like what happened in 1929 for about 3 or 4 years? I don't see it in that chart yet. I think you need to have a rapid uplift like 1928, 29 had there. All right, I don't know. Some of these are duplicative. So I'll go with this one. The only time the Dow fell below its 100-year rising channel was in 1930 here, and in 1974, that was the oil embargo. That was Nixon. It might also be tied to a delay reaction. And the oil embargo was all about Israel, by the way. But it might be tied to removing the gold backing of the US dollar. The only occurrences where the Dow Jones fell below its 100-year rising channel was 1930 and 1974. Will this continue? This is the same chart. No coincidence, the Wall Street crash of 1929 resulted in the Dow Jones falling to levels so low, even on a 100-year rising channel. Is that ahead of us? But even with that, you get a rally, and I would argue, a boss of mine always said, you get a market of stocks. not a stock market, so it matters what you're in. And you still get a rising opportunity. It's not like life ends. And I put these yellows in just to show the beginning. It's a sloppy line, but that yellow line is the beginning of the secular bull market, which has been uninterrupted pretty much, except for the great financial crisis stands out as a very sharp correction, and so does October 19th. But otherwise, it's been a generation, 2, 3, 4 generations of just straight up. Will this continue? I mean, anything's possible. I tried to draw on the bottom here, right in here, how flat the market was for a decade, 2 decades. And people got disinterested in the stock market back then. Now everybody knows about the market. And then here in 1930, you had the correction, the crash. But shortly thereafter, the market rallied, a really brilliant rally, consolidated, and another strong rally. So there's a chance, there are chances to make money, is all I'm saying. What's this? On the 100-year chart, it's clear that the Dow Jones Industrial Index moved in the highest area of its longest-term rising channel. Similar attempts back in 29 and 2000 failed. They resulted in epic crashes. Is this time different? Is this the start of a parabolic move? And is hyperinflation now underway? That's what I think. Both things. I don't know about hyperinflation yet. All right. Agree. I'm skeptical also about the press releases. I think lawyers write their press releases. I just hope we can see revenue shared by December to reach it. Well, I do want retail to be reassured, because I don't want people getting out. I think this stock, look, I'm not going to be stubborn if some glaring issue comes and it looks like the whole thing has been a big snow job or something. I'll let you know. But I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that. I think software moves so quickly and speeds up that they've got to be careful. They've been through this before. I think they know what they're doing. And the stock is now, the last trade, 0.505. So that was 270 shares that got it to 0.505. I'm not sure I have enough to go on for until 4 o'clock. So I might lay off. I might lay off at 3, unless there's something to talk about. My main thing I'm trying to do, it's not so much that my projections are going to be exactly right, but I'm trying to show you where I come up with my numbers. And to come up with these revenue targets as being $1 million a year, I think is very low. And I guess I should have added up how many companies. I guess I'm assuming over the next 2 quarters, they can get a couple of dozen, I don't know if it's that many, 15 to 20 revenue deals done. I think that's achievable. I don't see any news particularly to talk about. One thing, Friday's action was a surprise to people, and that's what those kind of things can flow over to sell-offs. The collapse of that company, not just Tricolor, but the other one, First Brands or something like that, those can trigger sell-offs, except that there's so much liquidity sloshing around, and the banks are pretty much in control of the Fed and the government. Maybe we get by with those. But what happened Friday is an unknowable. Maybe it follows through. I'm glad nothing really happened today. I've used as my example of something that could trigger a sell-off if all of a sudden Saudi Arabia can't produce 10 million barrels a day and it drops in half. Or if there's an awareness that China's population maybe is half of what it is. Or, obviously war, or, I've mentioned Fukushima it could cause a real estate crash if people realize that the Pacific Ocean is not safe. But there was one other one. I'm reading a book that got me aware of something which you guys know already. Is it could come down to chips. It could come down to these computing chips that TMSC, if I got the letter order correctly, in Taiwan. China could take that over. We could go to war over that, or there could be an earthquake. Similarly, Japan, Silicon Valley, there are some real choke points in chip manufacture. And I think we're all kind of know that, but that's the lifeblood of the modern economy, which underneath that is silver and oil, but software and technology chips are the key to everything. And that would really set off a sell-off if something happened in that area. I think I will, unless you guys get me talking about something else. There were a couple of videos to show you, but I think I'm going to quit at 3. Give the shorts a chance to crush the stock. What's a Beatles song? I don't know if it's Beatles songs or Paul songs. I bought this book, the lyrics, Paul McCartney. Let me just pick one. What's this one? Obla di blah da. Abbey Road, 1968. The problem was our gigs finished so late that restaurants and pubs had closed by the time we got back to London. So the only way we could get a drink and something to eat was to, quote, go down a club, as they used to say. That became a way of life. We would drive home from a gig and immediately go to a club. The Bag o' Nails was one of my favorites. The Speakeasy, the Revolution, the Scotch of St. James, the Cromwellian. Later, when the other guys were married and living in the suburbs, I would often go by myself. I was in one of these clubs. It was in one of these clubs that I met Jimmy Scott, the Nigerian conga player who I liked a lot. Jimmy had a couple of catchphrases he used all the time, one of which was obla di, obla da, life goes on, brah. Some people think obla di, obla da is a Yoruba phrase that means something like come see, come sa. Some people think it's a phrase Jimmy Scott made up. And there are others who think bra refers to a brassiere rather than an African version of bro. I liked the come see, come sa, que sera, sera sentiment. So I set out to write a humorous little character song about Desmond and Molly and their kids. It's a combination of African and Jamaican elements. I'm pretty sure Desmond is named after Desmond Decker, the Jamaican ska and reggae artist whose quote unquote Israelites was a hit later in 1969. He'd already had a big hit in the UK in 1967 with 007. When Desmond takes a trolley, I may be thinking of the San Francisco tram system. San Francisco is where the Beatles had done our last concert. There's a world of difference between Desmond takes a tram and Desmond takes a trolley. Some things either fit rhythmically or they don't. And tram is awkward in a song, whereas trolley allows for more possibilities rhythmically. John and I used to have conversations about trying to write songs that had a very conversational tone. Desmond takes a trolley to the jeweler's store isn't too flowery. It's something you could actually hear people saying. That could be a secret of why the Beatles stuff is still very accessible to people. It's because we're just talking straight. No matter how straight you're talking, though, there's still room for interpretation. Going back to the word trolley, I can see there's actually a lot to be said for the shopping cart reading. The idea of going to a jewelry store with a shopping cart to load up on stuff is pretty funny, particularly when Desmond comes back with a 20-carat engagement ring. One way or the other, it's pretty everyday stuff. That's something I'm still looking out for. I'm very much switched on to the power of the ordinary. My camera is looking around and sweeping life for clues for stories. When I'm on a bus or a plane or a train, my imagination starts going. I love simple truths. I love the vast majority of people. whether they are Mongolian or Indian or American, relate immediately to the idea of family and family life, to the image of a couple of kids running in the yard. If I plug that, I'm going to relate to people. That's obla-di, obla-da, brah. I wonder if he does John Lennon's songs. I don't think he does. No, he doesn't. He does Rocky Raccoon. Checked into his room only to find Gidgeon's Bible. Rocky had come equipped with a gun. Well, anyway, that killed 5 minutes. Now we got 5 minutes to the 3 o'clock. Hey, account settings. The Finland Prime Minister proposed 4-day working week with 6 hours workday. Well, that's coming. You know, when I was young, there was a lot of discussion of a 4-day work week in school. I don't know if it was out in the media, but I remember professors talking about it. All the way back then, people projected that there wouldn't be enough work to do. And, you know, a lot of what we're up against is the banks, of course. But, you know, as we've broken up families, and I think that's another successful thing of the last 40, 45 years, 50 years. Traditional marriage is non-existent as a majority in the United States, and it's not coming back. Women marry men for some reason, and then women, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And women don't want to be married to men. They make money. They can get money from men through the court system, but their jobs, you know, they get the education, they get the jobs, they get, anyway, whatever. Nothing to get hung about, as John Lennon would say. But it does seem when you break up families, you need more residences, you need more homes, you need more stuff, you need more electricity, more services. And there's more people in the job market, which, again, I'm not trying to make an assessment, but if there's gonna, look, financialization doesn't need a lot of work. Robotics is coming, and when we rebuild our factories, we're behind the game, but it'll be a lot of robotics. There's not a lot of jobs. There's not enough jobs for everybody. We don't live together in 5 or 6 unit families. We're spread all out. So I think the idea of universal income is coming. And one of the first steps along that way is to reduce working hours and overpay people for those hours. And then your economy, again, it's very wokeist and Marxist, but your people are dependent on the government for their income. I don't know. I never saw that until I got older. And I might be wrong. Ward Richardson, most of the foreign chip makers are building their chip companies here in the United States. That's what I understand. And but I think China is trying to replicate it. If China gets ahead, you know, that's the race that's going on. China versus the United States. It's interesting. How does English figure in? I don't know how many, a lot of people speak Mandarin, and maybe that's enough, Southeast Asia, but it seems like English would still have a big role in the future. Who knows? Who knows? All right, it's 3 o'clock. I don't know how much more I can bore you. Finger is down 10 cents, 171. Nixie's down 6 cents at 178. Mountain is down 30 cents at 399. G-Bucks is down 5 cents at 25 cents. And Railtown, 50 cents by 51 cents. Volume is 76,000. Last trade is that same 270,000 at 11.26. So unless somebody has something, I think I'm going to sign off just because I think it'd be nice to keep this shorter than usual, although it's still pretty long. And I wouldn't mind getting something to eat and taking care of a few things. But I guess my goal today is to show you my thinking on prices for Railtown. And it's all revenue driven. It's all revenue driven. And once the revenue comes in, then it's multiple driven. And I think it's important that it happens quickly. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's important that it happens while people are dancing, because if the music stops, in terms of, I'm not talking about AI, I'm talking about the background stock market. Could be tough. Wow. This is what Jim Rickards, I didn't read you that, his September strategic intelligence. His target for gold is 25,000 now. Gold is back in the headlines, and for good reason. The gold price has rallied from you can subscribe to this. The gold price has rallied from 1,800 per ounce in October 2023 to $3,530 an ounce in August of 25. That's a 93% gain in 2 years. Gold has rallied 41% in the past year alone, moving from 2,500 on August 13, 2024 to today's price. Taking a longer term perspective, gold's move from $915 an ounce in 2009 to $3,530 an ounce recently is a spectacular 286% gain. It may come as a shock to most observers that gold has outperformed the S&P 500 stock index in the first quarter of the 21st century. That's right. Gold is up over 1,300% since the year 2000 versus 603% for the S&P 500. Adjusted for inflation, The return on the S&P 500 since 2000 is 275%, or a modest 5% a year. Even better news for gold investors is that those historic gains are relatively small compared to what's coming in the next few years. Smart investors have been in gold for a while, or like me, just talked about it. But the vast majority of individuals, institutions, and sovereign wealth funds have yet to take the plunge. The best is yet to come. We have two examples of major gold bull markets to draw from. The reason there are not more gold bull markets is because the world was on a formal gold standard, so currency was tied to gold, from 1870 to 1971. During a gold standard, there are no bull markets and no bear markets. There's only price stability measured by the weight of gold. The first gold market ran from August 15, 1971, when the president ended the convertibility of dollars for gold by foreign trading partners. He said, "Nix on that." So the first bull market was August 15, 1971 to January 15, 1980. Rabbit is rich. Gold rallied from $35 an ounce to $800 per ounce, and an historic 2,200% gain. The second gold bull market ran from January 2000 to August 2011, when gold rallied from $250 per ounce to $1,900 per ounce, an equally historic 670% gain. Pretty good article. I didn't see this. Well, I saw it, I just didn't read it. Of course, there have been bear markets along the way. From January 1980 through January 2000, gold moved mostly sideways, but did decline in stages from 800 per ounce to 250 per ounce, a 68% drop. From August 2011 to December 2015, gold declined again from 1,900 per ounce to 1,050 per ounce, an 81% slide. And there was volatility along the way. Nothing goes up or down in a straight line. But those bear markets simply set the stage for bull markets, which took the price of gold to today's near all-time highs. If you trace the price of gold from 1971 to 2025 through bull and bear markets, what you get is a 9,900% gain. That's the power of gold. Plus, all those gains are without leverage. See, this is what's happening. Wall Street's getting educated on it. Intense interest in gold. Major institutional allocations to gold is less than 2% of assets under management. Well, let's talk about his 5 top buys in September. One is Alamis Gold. I met the chairman of Alamis Gold. I love that guy's story. And the symbol is AGI. Alamis Gold is a gold producer with diversified production from 3 operating mines in North America. Canada and Mexico. In July of 2024, Alamis closed its acquisition of Argonaut Gold. And AGI shareholders got an awesome deal, setting them up for even more high margin gold production. Alamis had a few operational hiccups. Management their all-in sustaining costs of production of gold is $1,200 per ounce. That's far below industry averages. He expects a rally of 50% by the end of this year. So he has Alamis Gold, it's a buy up to $34 a share. Schlumberger, I'm going to skip that. I love Schlumberger, always, it's always a good one. Diamondback Energy, another great company. Skip that one. Hecla Mining, I like Hecla. Hecla's up with Dolly Varden, and Hecla made a run at Dolly Varden a few years ago. They may turn around, it goes the other way, I don't know. Hecla Mining, HL, is a top silver miner in the United States and Canada. After a decade of underwhelming performance under old management, it has been re-energized under a new CEO. Hecla's most exciting development, Libby, is a gigantic silver and copper deposit. The Trump administration will streamline Libby's environmental review process. Wow, they got huge free cash flow. That's what's starting to happen in the mining space. When these companies start, they've got free cash flow of $100 million. When they start getting free cash flow, they start gobbling up other companies and taking over projects. So that window to invest while everything was flat on the ground is gone. But that doesn't mean there's not money to be made. It's just we're in a different part of the cycle now. Operationally, silver production for the quarter was 4.5 million ounces. They will produce 15 to 17 million ounces a year in silver, and then they also produce gold. Hecla Mining is a buy up to $8 a share. Wow. And then he also likes number 5, Triple Flag Precious Metals Corp. I wonder if that's a streaming company. The symbol is TFPM. Yeah, it is. Triple Flag Precious Metals has built an impressive portfolio of gold and silver royalties since 2016. In April this year, they acquired Orogen royalties. Wow. Despite strong fundamentals, TFPM trades at a low valuation relative to its royalty peers. Insiders are heavily invested, so they're aligned with shareholders. TFPM could rise 50% this year, and it could triple by the end of the decade. Triple Flag Precious Metals is a buy up to $30 a share. So that got us to 314. The stock is 0.505. And the volume is 76.91. I think we're going to have a good week. All right, it's 3:15. Do you know where your children are? Because I don't know where mine are. So I think I'm going to sign off. There's no further comments. I appreciate everybody tuning in. At least there's good steps toward peace in the Middle East. I hope that continues. And I hope each of you have a peaceful evening. Cheers.